What's up, everybody? How are you doing? And welcome to another episode of Mythic Pluses and What to Do About Them. So, this week we have another crazy setup opposed to what we had last week. So, as you all know, last week was week, let's say 11, if my brain serves me right. I'm sorry, 10. So, this week will be week 11. And what we're going to end up talking about is what those affixes are. But first of all, please make sure you hit that subscribe button here on the channel. That will allow us to do lots more things. It allows us to show you more videos and more things that are going to be coming out. And we've been putting out a lot of content here and at our sister site, Gaming Fire. So please make sure you end up going to check those out. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what our new affixes are going to be for week 11, and those are fortified, incorporeal, and sanguine. So what is that going to mean for you? Now, fortified is going to be giving you the non-bosses are going to have more health, they're going to deal more damage, and then the what's it called? Incorporals are going to be the spawns that are going to be popping up around you, and if they go off, they're going to reduce your damage and healing by 50%. And then they can get more of that. They can stack on top of that more and more and more. They have to be crowd controlled, meaning you can have Hunter Frost traps, you can have shackles for priests, you can have mind controls, you can have turn undead, you can have things like that. You have those options there. And then the last option is sanguine. So as we had to deal with, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, when those non-boss enemies are going to die, they're going to have a pool of this liquid around them. Now, since they've ended up changing, they can end up pooling together and becoming larger. You're only going to have one type of pool there that is underneath your feet, which is really good, so they won't stack anymore. So that's something to think of while you're ending up doing this. So, what does that mean for the dungeons that you are going to be encountering? So, the main thing that I feel is that this week is not going to be nearly as bad as people think they're going to be. Priests are going to be in, premium as always because of, and also Death Knights because of their turn undead and because of, mind control. So the things you're going to have to watch out for are those groups that are going to be larger packed in larger dungeons. So you're going to have things in Waycrest Manor because you have those small hallways. That's going to give you a problem having to deal with with having to deal with like the mobs dying and not really finding a place to go with them. You're gonna have to be careful of that there. You're gonna have to be careful of the fortified because of those closed areas. You really don't have room to kite the mobs around the room, so you're gonna have to either DPS them down or you're gonna have to use CC abilities to push them off you and continue. And that's gonna might cause some problems with the sanguine. So things to think of there. Um, Blackrock Hold, same deal. There's some really small hallways in there. So be really careful when you're pulling and you're going through the rooms there. You're going to really want to watch what you're going to end up doing for a lot of those rooms. Now, the mobs in there, they do really hit. You have to make sure you are interrupting kicks, you're interrupting certain things, and you're kind of going through properly there. Now, if your DPS is good enough to DPS things down at the same time, great. But I know that there's a lot of like little things you have to really be careful of, especially in there. Thankfully, it is not a tyrannical week, so the bosses are going to be very easy to deal with in there, which works out very well. The next thing is Throne of the Tides. Throne of the Tides feels like, it's one way or another. You can get really lucky where, you're going to have really easy mobs to deal with and kill each week, or you're going to have really easy bosses to deal with, but you never have both. And there's no real middle ground in comparison to the other dungeons where, if you have hard bosses, you don't have to worry about the mobs because the mobs aren't bad. But this is something you got to really be careful of, especially with Throne of Tides, which means the last hallways that you're going to be running down are going to be big and they're going to be problematic. So be very careful with that. Now the Everbloom is basically a large group pull nonstop fun time. So when you're ending up pulling in Everbloom, just remember you're going to be pulling those groups, but you're going to be pulling them, hiding them, killing them quickly. That's because you can't pull too much because of the fortified. Once you pull too many because of the fortified, your tanks are just going to die. You just have to be really, really careful on what you're going to be ending up doing with that and where things are going to be. All right. The next place you're going to talk about is Dark Heart Thicket, the place I hate no matter what. Be careful of the bears because their maddening roars are going to be killer on you. Be careful of pulling too many of the mushrooms and the dryads because of those. The next thing you got to be careful of is make sure you don't pull too many of the fears. So, and then after that, the bloodshots, they have so much HP. You have to be really careful of that, making sure you don't have multiple spawns on top of that. So you have all these little things that are just going to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of just compact as you're going through Dark Heart Thicket. So be very, very careful of those. And then the next place you're going to I want to talk about is Atoll Tazar. Atoll Tazar really isn't too bad for you to kind of go through. Atoll Tazar, how should I word it? There's only a couple of really, really bad pulls in there, but they're really not too bad because you have more than enough room and space to work with and to fight with them. So it's not too bad for you to kind of deal with and go through. And then lastly, Dawn of Infinites. Dawn of Infinites, Rise and Fall. Now, Fall is the first one we're going to talk about. It's the first half. You only really have to worry about those mobs around the circle. Make sure you're getting those interrupts. Don't be pulling extra mobs. And once you get all that stuff down, you're good. The hardest part about the whole thing is that it's just, you don't have much room to move. So be very, very careful when you're moving around that circle. Other than that, you'll be fine. And then lastly, Rise. Rise, you don't have much movement on certain pulls, but you're going to have really, really annoying not boss, I'm sorry. You have really, really annoying, like, pre-boss mechanics on both sides. You have the bombers on the Morchi side. You have all of the mobs going to battlefield. Like, those are really annoying to deal with. And you have that circle pull, which is all the Rift Masters and I'm sorry, not Rift Masters, Rift Mages, all those things. So annoying. So just be very careful when you're ending up pulling, that you're not going to pull too much, and so on and so forth. But you'll be fine and you'll get through it. I promise you that. Okay? And as always, you know, just take the week slow. You know, the first key or two you might not time, but once you figure out the group pulls, you know, you'll end up getting it and you'll be fine. So, all right. Well, make sure you all are subscribing to the channel. Make sure you use sub to our for your gamer glasses, your cameras, all of that fun stuff. They do amazing tech there. Use Lord PeteyTV there for a discount code. And then on top of that, make sure when you go to Rogue Energy Drinks, use Lord PeteyTV there, and you'll end up, you know, getting some discounts there, and then you'll support the channel. And as always, we have our merch store. Like, you know, this is one of our new ones. You know, how to play a warrior. You know, you're just gonna charge in on things, and then you're just gonna die. So, you know, things like that. We have some really, really cool shirts in there that I think people will appreciate. So, thank you all so much. Dream big, keep gaming. Have a fantastic rest of your week. If you're looking to see us live, we're live every single Monday through Friday on twitch.tv. I greatly appreciate you all and thank you. And I'll see you all soon. Love you. Bye, everybody.